right now we're going to talk about documents, how to share them, and maybe create a document library, an online document library where you can share your files with everybody. First of all, we could do that with WordPress, with a default media library coming with WordPress, but it's really basic. It doesn't allow us to do many things with it. We can sure upload files and share files, but that's it. By the way, when I say uploading files, does anybody understand what this means? It's because, well, surely we're all professionals here, so we know what we're talking about. Putting a file on the server so everybody can access it. So the media library coming with WordPress, the basic one, this is how it looks like. It's just a flat list of files, not organized, and you can only sort by date. If you put a title, you can search by title, but that's it. And this is how it looks in the back end. One good thing, though, is here in the uploaded to, it says where if it's used in a post or a page or not. So, for instance, those four first ones are unattached, which means they are not used. They are not integrated in a page or in a post. While this one, the last one, is in the welcome page, which in this case is the home page. So it's an interesting information here. You can see whether you use it or not, and it can be useful to clean your library if you need to. But apart from that, well, that's all you can do with it. Luckily, and once again, there are plugins to improve the features of a media library. And I haven't finished with the default media library from WordPress. Good things is that to upload a file is really easy. It's drag and drop upload. So you can drag actually one or many files at once, and it uploads them all. And it's getting quite powerful, even with a slow connection. It's supposed to work well, because even with slow connections or large files. It creates thumbnails automatically. So basically, when you when you upload a file and an image, it creates different sizes of that image. So it's directly available on the rest for the rest of the website. And even with documents, if you upload a PDF, it creates a thumbnail with a screenshot of the first page. So that can be useful as well to quickly find your document. And it does have a search form. But the drawback is that we have, as I said, only one single list. There's no folders. It's just a flat list of files. There's no statistics. It's just very basic in terms of if you want to share a file, just put a link. That's it. And there's no security, meaning that you cannot decide if a file is private or not. If you want to have some private files, it does offer a small feature about that, but it's not very secure. First thing we did to improve the media library is to add folders. So at least we can organize our files the same way we'll organize them on our hard drive. It's easier to manage, easier to find and to organize our files. It's really simple here. We just create any folder we want. We can have subfolders as many as we want, and then we just move our files around. And even moving a file from a folder to another is just basic drag and drop. It's simple, efficient, and still quite powerful. I will demonstrate that. This plugin also adds more features. It regenerates. You can regenerate thumbnails, because I don't know if you remember, but there's one setting in the media library where you can tell what is the size of the different thumbnails. There's a small thumbnail, medium thumbnail, and a large image, and you can change the size of those thumbnails. But if you change them, it doesn't. The default WordPress setup doesn't recreate the thumbnails. But with this plugin, you can. I will show you how it works. You can add watermarks. So you can add your logo or just some text that prints over every image you upload. So why would we use this? Well, if we want to make sure that people don't copy or don't use our images, so that's good. Now we have to be careful how we use them, because if we have a big please do not download text over our images, then there's no point putting an image. I mean, it can be really can look really bad. So, but you can play with it and see if there's something that fits your needs. And again, you can regenerate every image, so you can change your mind and just change the watermark at any point and apply this to all the images you have on the media library. The upload works better, and you can embed PDFs directly in the page. For instance, Amitesh, I know you're doing this in Fiji. Well, there you go. You can, if you want to keep doing that, you can do it. Let's see how this all look like. So the media library has the folders on the left. If I want to create a new folder for a new set of images, photos, there you go. And I have photos here. Because I was already into illustration, it creates subfolder, but I can easily change its position by just dragging and drop it. Right? And if I want to move a picture from a folder to another, for instance this one, then I can just drag and drop it. Well, I thought I could. Let me check. There you go. So there's two ways of listing files. As a list, which is helpful if you want to see its weight or if it's used in a page or not, or as thumbnails, so you can change this. And I found it easier to move things around using thumbnails. You can also sort and sort your files by date or by size or etc. You can search for any file. By the way, when you search by name, well, it makes sense if your files are correctly named. If you have a file named, I probably have one or two in there. Well, no, I'm quite a good student. I do rename my files, but I mean, you often upload files that are named just just with a series of letters or numbers and they don't make sense. Well, it's a good habit to rename them as soon as you upload them, so you are sure you can find them at any time. Because you will forget after a while, and so it's a good habit to rename them. And also the name of a file. If I go to see its details here, I have a title, and the title is used also by search engines to guess what the image is about. Well, search engines and also people who are browsing, like blind people who are browsing the web. They have what we call screen readers, and if you don't name your images correctly, then for them it's just they don't know what they see, meaning that they don't know what they're reading about. And when a screen reader goes through a page, if it starts saying AG7520, then they're like, what? So, yeah, you can also it's also helpful for actually many more people that we can think to rename all our files. Yeah, watermark and all that. So you have here in settings, you have the WP media folder. So those are settings for these. There are a lot of options, and you can, if you don't know if you're curious about those options, feel free to have a look. The default setup is pretty good in this plugin. And if you want to know what something is about, you can always move your mouse over a title, and you have a little tooltip here that explains what it's about. But feel free to try them out. There are some that are interesting. It improves WordPress, image galleries. So galleries are used if you want to create a photo album, for instance. You create an event and you have 10 pictures to share. Well, you can create a gallery of those pictures. They will be listed in thumbnails. When you click them, they enlarge, and it looks very. It can look. It's easier for visitors to use. Now, in our case, statistical website, we don't really use this that often, but it's there. What I wanted to show, well, watermark, here it is. So you can select an image that goes over, that is added to every picture you add to the media, and you set how big it is and its position and all that. It gives, you have to try it out a few times before you find the correct setup, but it's all there. And once you're happy with what you get, you just hit that button, and it adds the watermark to every image you have. Regenerate all thumbnails. So in settings media, the one I was talking about before, you see those are the three size of images that you have. These are the default setups. But if you need bigger image, or you want the thumbnails to be bigger or smaller or whatever, you can change that. And once you're done, you will go back to this page and hit that button, so it regenerates everything you previously uploaded on WordPress. The rest we won't need it, because we use only one language, either English or French. And this, well, you don't have to worry about it. it's all ticked, so it's all good. So that's it for the WP Media Folder plugin. If you have any question, do you have any question? It will be easier to, once you play with it, as always, once you play with it, you have some question come up. So back to presentation here. We were talking about media library, which we'll mostly use for images, but it does, you can upload documents there, but actually we want more to do. We want to do more with documents that what we can do with the WordPress media library. And the W file download plugin that we've set up is pretty good because it helps us organize documents per category. And you're going to tell me, well, we cannot do that already with a media library. That's true. But to do it in a different place for documents is better because you can also then, the way you integrate those documents into pages or posts is way better, and you will understand what I'm talking about later on. You can include single documents, also a single category, meaning all documents in a category, or even the full document library. Here we're talking about categories, but it works exactly the same way as folders do. You can think of category or folders the same way. You can synchronize the files with server uploads. What does that mean? That means that you can upload a file to the server using FTP program, for instance. This is useful when you have a slow connection or a large file to share, because FTP, file transfer protocol, is really good at that. And sometimes you don't have any other choice. Does everybody know what an FTP is? FTP, file transfer protocol, FTP, to upload a file to a server. I'll give you, we can go through an example if you want later on. But basically you put a file on the server, but you don't go through WordPress to do so. So then you have to tell WordPress that there's a new file and it has to integrate it. And you can do that with this plugin. There's a PDF viewer, which means that instead of having to download the PDF before your visitors can actually view it, you can have a pop-up to open the PDF and read it without leaving the website. That can be useful. And there you go, you have download statistics, so you can see what documents have been downloaded and how often, and even you can even have statistics by category, so you can see what categories were most popular and so on. And the security is improved, meaning that if you want to share a file with one specific group of people, then that's easy. This plugin has lots of options. So let's go through most of them and see. But again, with this plugin, the default options are pretty good. So we don't have to change so many of them. But let's see the most important ones. Plugin sits here, and the first thing you need to do is go to configuration and what is it? User rules. This is the first thing you need to check. You need to check that for administrator everything is turned on. Otherwise, you will have problem using the plugin. And then, if you create more users, maybe you don't want them to be able to do everything, so you can select whether they can create categories or edit them or only access as the library to add new files or just to read to browse the library. So you just have for every kind of user you can set up different permissions. Just make sure these ones are all on. The main settings, as I said, by default it's all already working great, but in case you try to upload a file and you see that it gets rejected, maybe it's because its extension is not allowed, so you can check it here. It's already there. But basically you can upload any compressed files, any PDF, Excel, Word document, or even Office, OpenOffice documents, or all kinds of documents. But maybe you want to reduce the list because you don't want, for instance, VOB, WMV, and those are video files. Maybe you don't want your colleagues to upload them, so maybe you want to reduce this list. Again, as you can see, it's the same Joom United, same editor as the WP Media folder plugin, so it works kind of the same. If you are curious about an option, you can always have a tip by moving your mouse over. Another thing that is interesting is themes. This plugin, by default, offers 4 themes. Themes are the way you display the list of files. And let's go through them. As I said, there are a lot of options. And so this is an example of having a file, one file on a page or a post. I can have a full category or a folder. So here I'm talking about population, and everything I upload about population is listed here. This is this comes from the plugin. I just integrate the list of files there. This time you can see it's displayed differently. It's just as a table. And again, I have a preview button or a download button. All this is, and I have date and a size. I can change everything I want by customizing the theme. That's what we're going to talk about after that. So this is an example of having a category in a page. Or I can have just the full library. So that's what most of us will do in the document library page. Here, as you can see, I have the list of all my folders, which I can browse. But I also can search for a file. And if you name your files correctly, then it can be pretty powerful, because you can search by name, you can search by date, or by tags if you start using tags, or just filter by categories again. So this whole document library page, having a search and the list of folders. This is all you need for to share files using a proper document category, document library. Sorry. Now I was talking about themes, and I said there are 4 different types of themes. Where are they? No. There is the default theme. This is how it looks like. You can customize, you can choose to hide the list of categories or to display or hide the list of categories. Maybe you want to just have one category. This is one option. As you can see, there's a thumbnail with a big icon, the title, the size, and it comes in columns like so. This is one theme, but what they call the GDD theme. I'm not sure what GDD stands for, but well, as you can see, much more simpler. Much simpler. It's just an icon and a name. Takes less space, so maybe it's just maybe it fits your needs as well, and you can still browse by a category. When there's a folder or subfolder, you can just click there to open them. So you might not need, in this case, to display this as a tree. Table, which I used before. I personally like this because you can sort by date or by title, and I think it's easier to list many files. Again, and you can also browse by folder or by category. Last but not least, the tree view. The tree view that just looks like this, and you just expand each category or folder individually. It's good, but it doesn't give much detail on files, unless when you click on them and you selected that option. When you click on one, you can have a pop-up that gives more information, description, the size, and etc., and options to download or preview. So you can do many different things with this plugin, and you can even do more because, as I said, well, there are statistics. You could also integrate a form on your website to allow people to upload files to your website directly. I can see Emily doesn't agree with that idea. And sure not, we don't need that. Well, we probably don't need that. But some people do want that. And that said, just quickly about this thing, if someone upload a web file to your WordPress site, first of all, it's not published automatically. Second of all, you'll receive an email about it, and don't worry, it only works if you enable it, and so it's not a default feature. And you can synchronize with the cloud. This again is great for big documents or slow connections. If some of you use Google Sheets or Google Cloud or Dropbox or many of these other options, you can upload a file there. And if you're used to Google Sheets, for example, you will just update your Excel sheet directly on Google, which works great, and it will synchronize with your WordPress website directly. So that's an option. And I know I personally use Dropbox, for instance, the files sit on my computer. They are synchronized directly with Dropbox. I don't have to worry about it at any time. It's all automatic. And if I set up another synchronization between Dropbox and my website, then again, everything works behind the scene, in the background, and even if it takes hours, I don't have to worry about it because it's all automatic and it works well. So this is an option that you may want to think about. The themes are defined here. All right. What you, again, like kind of a golden rule in whatever you do on your website, you want things to be consistent. You don't want to mix too many styles. So this plugin allows you to have to use different theme or different style for each category, which I don't believe it's a good idea. You should try out all of those different themes and set up your options once. Once you're happy with it, it will probably, and you think it will be good with any part of your website, then just use one single theme. For instance, if I share population reports and if I share CPI reports and I create pages or a sticky post as we saw, or like in this example, and I have a list of files that looks like this in this page, I probably don't want a list of files to look differently in another page. So go ahead, play with the theme, select the one you want, tables or tree or whatever you want, and then stick to it and use the same every time you integrate a list of files everywhere.